Okay, we're going to start in on the third of my series of YouTube longer form content. I feel like I'm getting the hang of this, although I don't know. I don't know if I can get the hang of it after 2 or 3 videos. I think it needs like 80 or 100, and then maybe I'll be getting the hang of it. We're going to continue talking about challenges that I face, that men face. Women face it too, but I'm primarily as an executive coach for men, typically, and as a man myself, it's much more authentic, me talking about men. But if you're a woman and you're listening, there is benefit. There's stuff in here for you too. So we're going to talk about patterns today. And we're going to talk about how inside each one of us, there's an operating system that's running our life. Just like your computer has an operating system, right? Like your computer knows how to show you the layout of editing software for videos because it's interacting with the operating system in the background. So if you took a program or an app that was written for a PC and you tried to run it on your Mac, it's not going to work because it's not written for the operating system that your computer is running on. Well, the same thing is true inside of us. We have an operating system that we're running on. We have an operating system that determines the way we interpret reality, the way we see reality. And that inner operating system has been built upon years of experience, your own experiences of life. There's no such thing as a objective operating system, like a human operating system. There are 8 billion people on the planet. There are 8 billion different operating systems. You can take two people who grew up in the same household, twins even, and they will have different operating systems. And these operating systems determine the way you engage with life. They determine the way you interpret things, the way you absorb things, the way you get afraid of things, the way you react to things, and they very often drive behavior. We often think that the behavior we make or the reactions we take are based on circumstances, based on the things going around. Well, of course I reacted this way because look what that person did to me. Happens all the time. But and it's real. It's the truth. It's your truth. But it doesn't have to be that way. And that's a subtle distinction, but it's an important distinction because as long as you are at the mercy of circumstances going on in your life, you have no agency in making a change because the circumstances are happening. So of course you have to do X, Y, or Z. You have to do something about it differently. I was thinking of an example in my life, when someone says they're going to meet me for dinner and I don't get a message from them and they're 20 minutes late, of course I'm upset with them. Of course I'm justified in being upset with them in my operating system. And I will then go to other people and say, yeah, can you believe that my friend John was 20 minutes late for dinner and he didn't say anything to me? He didn't text me? Like, what an asshole. I will look for agreement from other people. And John's not automatically an asshole for being late, but my operating system is determining the way I relate to his lateness based on my experience in my life. And I'm not wrong for thinking it, but when I have to operate that way, I don't have choice. And power comes from choice. Power comes from the ability to make choices as opposed to being at the mercy of this system. You know, I mean, think about this in relation to patterns. You ever wonder why you keep getting pulled back into the same patterns? You have the same arguments with your spouse over the same things. You swear after the last one that you're not going to let yourself get upset again about the same thing. Well, it's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's just your underlying operating system is pulling you and relating to you, and there's been no change in the underlying operating system. So it's running the show. You're not running the show. It's running you. You're not running you. And you didn't choose it. It just happened. See, the fact that it's just happening and you feel out of control, especially when it comes to anger or upset or disagreement, is evidence that this operating system is running because guess what? If the person that caused your upset or the thing that happened, the circumstance that happened in your life that caused you to be upset, if it happened to somebody else exactly the same way, they may not be upset. It's not built in to whatever scenario you're experiencing. It's just not. It's not intrinsic to that scenario. But because of something you learned a long time ago that had something to do with being safe, being loved, being accepted, being needed, being in control, you react the way you do because the thing that happened that upset you is reminding you, oh, maybe I'm not safe. Oh, maybe I'm not loved. Maybe I'm not respected. Maybe I'm not accepted. Maybe I'm not in control. And because you have a need to do one of those things, you suddenly feel like you might not be okay. It might not be okay. So you get upset. And it's much easier to get upset at the situation or the circumstance of the other person than it is to take responsibility for your part. I'm going to tell you about my inner operating system. Now, it took me a long time to see this. You know, I started working with my coach, Mona Miller, back in 1996. And I really didn't see these patterns for a long time. You know, when I got my master's in spiritual psychology in 2013, I was starting to see these patterns. But they've really come into clarity in the last 5 years. Now, it doesn't always take people 30 freaking years to figure this out. I'm definitely a slow study. But it can take that long. What I try to do with my clients is to help them through this much quicker. And when there's somebody in front of you that can hold the mirror up and hold you accountable, you will definitely see it more quickly. My inner operating system was built around proving myself. I wanted above everything else to belong, to not feel like an outsider. So I would do anything in my power to get it right, to prove I was strong, to prove I was good enough, to look good in the eyes of the people that were around me that I determined that were the cool people. I learned this, I don't know how old I was, probably 3 or 4. I made a decision. I don't know. I don't really have a story that I can tell you from that age, but I made a decision really, really early on that I'm not safe if I don't belong, that I'm not okay if I don't belong, that I'm unworthy of the air I breathe. You know, I don't know if it was quite that dramatic. If people don't accept me. And so I started to make decisions around who I was friends with, who I would hang out with, who I would talk to. I didn't know I was doing any of this. But now looking back over the decisions I made and the people I hung out with and my loyalties or not disloyalties to what my friends or the way I interacted with groups, big organizations that I was a part of, and how I would kind of move from one to the next, to the next, to the next, never feeling like I belonged. Well, that was interesting because the one thing I needed more than anything else was to belong. And yet I kept finding evidence where I don't belong. That's how the inner operating system works. The quest for solving the problem becomes the proof that it needs solving, that it needs fixing. So my pattern was really about achievement as self-worth, achievement as everything. It's getting it right, being right. I mean, I don't know how many arguments I've had with my wife because I need her to see it my way. I need her to at least just admit that my way is the right way. It's another one of my pieces of my operating system. That's a very common one too, because the ego needs to be right. I just got my worthiness connected to being right. So it was more convoluted than just my ego being right. Now, see, as time goes by, the story, the background story continues because it's hooked. It's like a earwig. It's just hooked in your memory banks. And the more you keep replaying it, the more you remember, and the more you keep hunting for a solution to the problem, and the more you keep doing the same thing you've always been doing. And it results in feeling a tremendous amount of pressure, feeling a tremendous amount of thinking, of trying to prove, without constant attentiveness to whatever it is that creates your worthiness or your enoughness or your safety, without continuously being attentive to that, your things are going to fall apart. See, as you're listening to this, some of these may relate to you, but you've got your own. These are not universal by any stretch of the imagination. There are definitely commonalities between all of ours. There's only so many in the world, but they're all nuanced with stories and and memories. And so this is something that you can just be with. You can start to try to connect the dots in your life, looking at your triggers, looking where you get irritated. What irritates you? What's the underlying condition that it reminds you of? A really painful one for me was back when my first dog died, Lucy. She died I because I locked her in the car. She died of heat. And my wife had reminded me that morning, hey, make sure you don't lock Lucy in the car because it's a hot day. And I had this pattern with my wife where no one was going to tell me what to do. Like, don't tell me what to do. I am in charge of myself. So I blocked that message from her. Like, look, was it her fault? Absolutely not. But I was so locked into that pattern that it blocked I believe it blocked my ability to remember. It almost caused it. My own insistence on being right. You can't tell me what to do. Guess what? So much so that I will go to the death of my dog, to prove my rightness. I haven't talked about that in a long time. I don't even know if I should be talking about it. It came up as I was sitting here thinking. That's the insidious nature of these the strength of these inner dialogues. That's the grip that they have on you. When they have you by that grip, they're running the show. Your stories are running the show. Your operating system is running the show, not you. I didn't have a choice. I mean, that in and of itself sounds ludicrous. Of course I had a choice, but in a way I didn't, because I was so locked into my worthiness being connected to being right that I had to prove myself as right, and nothing was going to get in my way. It's one of the biggest regrets of my life. Can't get it back. Can't have it back. I'd give anything to relive that. And yet I did learn. So that's really the opportunity, is starting to connect the dots in your life, starting to see your patterns, starting to take stock of how you take action, how you make decisions. And one of the things that I love having people do is to start taking notes as they go through their day. Where did you get hooked? Where did you start judging other people? Where did you get triggered and upset? Even if it's a small upset, keep a little journal. Start to become aware so that you can start to name your pattern. You can see it as clearly as I can see my patterns. And once you can see it that clearly, then you start to gain some facility with shifting it, adjusting it. I hope this is helpful. I will be back in another video soon. And thanks for sticking it out all the way to the end. All right. Let me know if this resonates. I'd love to hear about it in comments. And I'd love to hear what you're taking from this as well. All right. See ya.